The giant meeting hall was bigger than most planets. Thousands of alien beings sat in floating chairs that moved through the air like magic. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like walking trees or living rocks. A few were just balls of light that spoke without mouths. This was the Galactic Council, where every smart race in the universe came to talk about big problems. Today, they had the biggest problem ever. An old alien called Vorthik stood up. His people had been alive for millions of years. They had seen stars born and die. They had watched whole civilizations rise and fall like waves on a beach. Nothing surprised them anymore. But today, Vorthik looked scared. "Fellow beings," he said in a voice that shook, "we must talk about the humans." A wave of worried sounds filled the hall. Some aliens clicked their claws. Others made whistling noises. The tree-like beings rustled their leaves in fear. "Show them the video," said another old alien. A huge screen appeared in the air above them. It showed a small blue and white planet spinning in space. Earth. Then the image changed to show a human spaceship. It was not pretty like alien ships. It looked like someone had stuck different pieces of metal together and hoped it would fly. "This is Captain Jake Morrison," Vorthik said. "He leads a human crew on what they call a routine mission." The video showed Jake Morrison inside his ship. He was a normal-looking human man with short brown hair and a big smile. He wore a blue uniform that looked too small for him. Next to him stood other humans, all looking excited about something. "Watch what happens next," Vorthik said. The screen showed a terrible sight. A black hole was eating a star. The star was dying, and when it died completely, 5 planets full of people would freeze and die too. It was one of the worst things that could happen in space. Not any smart race would do the same thing. They would save who they could and leave. The black hole was too strong. The star was too far gone. It was impossible to fix. But Jake Morrison looked at this impossible problem and smiled. "Hold my beer," he said to a woman next to him. The aliens in the council meeting made confused noises. What was beer? Why was he giving it to someone? What did this have to do with the dying star? The woman took a brown bottle from Jake's hand. Her name was Lisa Chun, and she was a scientist who worked as a bartender on the ship. She nodded at Jake like this was normal. "You sure about this, Captain?" she asked. "Nope," Jake said, still smiling. "But that's never stopped us before." What happened next made every alien in the council meeting very quiet. Jake Morrison's crew flew their ugly little ship toward the black hole. They should have been sucked in and crushed. Instead, they started building something. They took apart old alien machines they had found floating in space. They used pieces of broken ships. They even took apart parts of their own ship. "What are they making?" whispered an alien that looked like a giant jellyfish. "A stellar engine," Vorthik said. His voice was full of disbelief. "They are building a stellar engine around a dying star next to a black hole using nothing but junk." This was impossible. Stellar engines were huge machines that only the most advanced races could build. They took hundreds of years to make and needed perfect materials. You certainly could not build one from space garbage while a black hole tried to eat you. But the humans did it anyway. The video showed Jake Morrison floating in space wearing a simple spacesuit. He was welding pieces of metal together with a tool that shot fire. Behind him, the black hole twisted space so much that light bent in circles. The dying star threw out deadly radiation that should have killed him in seconds. Morrison just kept working and humming a little song. "Is he enjoying this?" asked an alien made of living crystal. "All humans are crazy," said another alien. "This proves it." The stellar engine took shape around the dying star. It looked nothing like the beautiful, perfect engines that advanced races built. It was ugly and rough, held together with what looked like tape and hope. But it worked. The engine caught the star's energy and used it to push the star away from the black hole. Slowly, the star began to move. The black hole lost its grip. The star stopped dying. 5 billion people on 5 planets were saved. The video ended. The council meeting was completely silent. An immortal being appeared in the center of the hall. Immortals were older than most stars. They had been alive since the universe was young. They had never been surprised by anything. This one looked surprised. "I am Zephyra of the Eternal Flames," the immortal said. "I have watched over this galaxy for 10 billion years. I have seen every kind of impossible thing. But this ... She pointed at the screen. "This should not be possible. The humans did not just save the star," Vorthik said. "They improved it. The star now burns cleaner and will live twice as long. They accidentally made it better while they were saving it." More worried sounds filled the hall. "There is worse news," Zephyra said. "The humans are doing this everywhere. Every time they find a problem, they say those words. 'Hold my beer.' Then they fix things that cannot be fixed. What do we do?" asked the jellyfish alien. Zephyra looked around the hall at thousands of advanced alien races, beings that had mastered time and space, races that could move planets and create new kinds of life. "We run," she said simply. "I am declaring humanity a Class X unpredictable species. All immortals are to evacuate any area where humans are working. When they say 'hold my beer,' even we should leave." The oldest beings in the universe were afraid of humans with beer and space junk. The meeting ended with the strangest order in galactic history. Run from the humans. Not because they were dangerous, but because they were too helpful. They fixed things that should not be fixed. They made the impossible look easy. And they were just getting started. Lisa Chun stood behind the bar of the Lucky Strike, holding Jake Morrison's beer. The bottle was brown glass, cold and wet with drops of water on the outside. It looked like any normal beer from Earth, but Lisa knew it was not normal at all. She was not just a bartender. Before the space program, Lisa had been a quantum physicist. She studied the smallest parts of everything and how they behaved in strange ways. When humans started exploring space, they needed smart people who could also make good drinks for long trips. Lisa was perfect for both jobs. The beer in her hand was her secret project. She called it probability beer. It was made with normal ingredients. But Lisa had done something special to it. She had mixed it with quantum particles that existed in many places at once. When someone drank her probability beer, impossible things became a little more possible. Not by much, but enough to matter. It was like giving luck a small push in the right direction. Jake Morrison had been drinking Lisa's special beer for months. He did not know it's special. He just thought he was getting really good at solving problems. Lisa watched through the ship's windows as Jake worked on the stellar engine outside. He moved like someone who knew exactly what to do, even though no human had ever built a stellar engine before. The probability beer was working. Her communication device beeped. A message was coming in from another human ship. "This is Commander Roy Johnson of the Second Chance," the voice said. "Did you guys really build a stellar engine out of space junk?" Lisa pressed the reply button. "Yes, we did. Jake's still out there making final adjustments." "That's amazing," Roy said. "Listen, we just found something out here. There's a whole solar system that's about to crash into another solar system. Billions of people are going to die when the planets smash together." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. "What are you going to do?" "Well," Roy said, and Lisa could hear him smiling, "I was thinking maybe you could hold my beer too." This was how it started. One human asking another human to hold their beer while they did something impossible. Within hours, Lisa was getting calls from human ships all over the Galaxy. Captain Amy Rodriguez called from the Starlight Express. Lisa, I found a pulsar that's spinning so fast it's tearing holes in space. I want to build a shell around it to catch all that energy. Can you hold my beer? Engineer Pete Adams called from the Deep Digger. There's a dead moon here that's perfectly round and made of some super dense metal. I think I can turn it into a spaceship that goes faster than light. Hold my beer? Dr. Karen Williams called from the Science Seeker. I found this huge sleeping creature floating in space. It's bigger than a planet and looks hungry. I'm going to try feeding it some exotic matter. Hold my beer, Lisa. Each time Lisa said yes. Each time she held their beer and watched impossible things happen. Roy Johnson figured out how to grab both solar systems with giant mechanical hands and gently move them apart. The hands are made from asteroids and powered by the gravity of nearby black holes. It should not have worked, but it did. Amy Rodriguez built her shell around the pulsar using materials that bent light and twisted time. The shell caught so much energy that she had to give most of it away to nearby planets. For free. She could not figure out how to turn it off. Pete Adams turned his dead moon into a ship that could travel between dimensions. When he tested it, he accidentally discovered 17 new universes and brought back souvenirs from each one. Dr. Karen Williams fed the sleeping creature exotic matter made from compressed starlight. The creature woke up, thanked her politely, and offered to help with any construction projects. It turned out to be very good at moving planets. Lisa watched all of this happen while holding everyone's beer. She kept careful notes in a journal she called Things That Should Be Impossible, But Happened Anyway. The journal was getting very thick. More calls came in. Human crews all over the galaxy were finding problems and solving them in ways that made no sense. Each time they called Lisa first, asking her to hold their beer. It was becoming a tradition. Captain Bob Turner found a space station the size of a moon that was falling into a star. He built a giant slingshot using rubber bands made from crystallized gravity and shot the station into orbit around a safer star instead. Dr. Nancy Scott discovered that a whole galaxy was running out of time. Time itself was slowing down and would eventually stop. She built a time generator using spare parts from her kitchen and recharged the entire galaxy. Engineer Danny Clark found a planet where the people had accidentally broken mathematics. Numbers did not work right anymore. 2 plus 2 equaled fish, and circles had 5 sides. Danny fixed their math by teaching their computers to count in colors instead of numbers. Each success made the next impossible thing a little easier. It was like the universe was learning that humans did not follow the normal rules, so maybe the rules did not matter as much as everyone thought. Lisa's probability beer was helping, but she realized something else was happening too. The humans were changing how reality worked just by refusing to believe things were impossible. Her communication device beeped again. This time, the call was not from a human ship. "This is the Keeper of Cosmic Order," a voice said. It sounded old and tired and scared. "Please make them stop." Lisa had never heard of the Keeper of Cosmic Order, but the voice sounded important. "Make who stop doing what?" "The humans," the voice said. "They are rewriting the laws of physics. The universe has rules for a reason. If they keep breaking the rules, everything will fall apart." Lisa looked out the window at Jake Morrison, who was now painting racing stripes on the stellar engine because he thought it would make it run better. It was working. The engine was running 10% more efficiently. "I don't think they're breaking the rules," Lisa said into the communicator. "I think they're just showing everyone that the rules were more like suggestions. That's even worse." The Keeper of Cosmic Order said, "Please, we are begging you. The immortal beings who have maintained balance for billions of years are starting to panic. Some of them are talking about hiding in other dimensions until the humans get bored and go away. Lisa thought about this. She looked at Jake's beer in her hand. She looked at her notes about impossible things that had happened just because humans tried them. "Can I ask you something?" Lisa said to the keeper of cosmic order. "Yes, anything." "Do you want me to hold your beer?" There was a long silence. I do not drink beer," the keeper finally said. "Maybe you should try it," Lisa said. "It might help you relax." The communication ended. Lisa added a new note to her journal. Made an immortal cosmic being confused. About beer, her device beeped with another call. This time, it was from Captain Sam Martinez of the Lucky Break. "Lisa," Sam said, "I found something really weird out here. There's a hole in space that leads to what looks like the beginning of time. I can see the universe being born through it. I'm thinking of going through to see if I can help with the construction process. You know, maybe give some advice about building galaxies more efficiently." Lisa sighed and got ready to hold another beer. "Hold my beer, Lisa," Sam said. "I'm going to go help create the universe." Lisa made another note in her journal. Thursday, held Sam's beer while he improved. The Big Bang. It was going to be a long day. Something strange was happening to the universe. It started small, but like a rock rolling down a hill. It got bigger and faster with each passing day. Jake Morrison's stellar engine was supposed to just save one dying star. But when he turned it on, something unexpected happened. The engine did not just move the star away from the black hole. It punched a hole through space itself. The hole was perfectly round and glowed with soft blue light. Through it, Jake could see other stars, other galaxies, other places that were impossibly far away. "Well, that's new," Jake said, floating in his spacesuit near the hole. He poked it with a metal rod. The rod went through and came back covered in what looked like glitter from another dimension. "Lisa," he called on his radio. "You still holding my beer?" "Yes, Jake," Lisa answered from the ship. "What did you do now?" "I think I made a shortcut through space." "Want to see if it works?" Before Lisa could say this was a bad idea, Jake flew his small repair ship through the hole. He disappeared from their universe and reappeared somewhere else entirely. "Jake," Lisa shouted into the radio. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Jake's voice came back, but it sounded far away and echoed strangely. "Lisa, you need to see this. I'm in the Andromeda Galaxy." The trip took about 5 minutes. "I think I just made traveling between galaxies as easy as driving to the store." This was the first domino to fall. Roy Johnson heard about Jake's space shortcut while he was still working on separating the two crashing solar systems. Roy was using massive mechanical hands to gently push planets apart, but it was slow work. "If Jake can punch holes through space," Roy said to his crew, "maybe I can do something similar." Roy activated all his mechanical hands at the same time. Instead of just pushing the planets apart, the hands created a ripple effect through space. The ripple spread out in all directions, like waves in a pond. Everywhere the ripple touched, space became more flexible. Stars could be moved more easily. Planets could change their orbits with just a small push. Even black holes became less dangerous and more cooperative. "Oops," Roy said, watching the wave of changed space spread across the galaxy. "I think I made space softer." This was the second domino. Amy Rodriguez was building her energy-collecting shell around the spinning pulsar when Roy's space-softening wave reached her. The wave hit her construction project, and something amazing happened. Shell, which was already collecting enormous amounts of energy, suddenly started collecting different kinds of energy. It began gathering the energy that held space together, the energy that made time move forward, even the energy of thoughts and dreams. "This is impossible," Amy said, watching her instruments go crazy. "I'm collecting energy that should not exist." But the shell kept working. It collected so much energy that Amy had to build larger and larger containers to hold it all. Soon she had enough energy to power entire galaxies for millions of years. The problem was that all this energy collection was having side effects. Near Amy's project, the laws of physics started acting differently. Gravity worked backwards on Tuesdays. Light traveled in spirals instead of straight lines. Mathematics began including new numbers that had never existed before. This was the third. Dr. Corinne Williams was still feeding the giant sleeping creature when Amy's energy experiments started affecting her area of space. The creature, which had been politely eating exotic matter, suddenly became much more active. "Thank you for the food," the creature said in a voice like distant thunder. "I feel much better now. Also, I am pregnant." Corinne nearly dropped her feeding equipment. "Pregnant? With what?" "Baby universes," the creature said happily. "I have been waiting for the right kind of food for billions of years. The exotic matter you gave me was exactly what I needed to start making new universes. I am going to have 17 of them." Corinne watched in amazement as the creature's body began to glow. Small bubbles of light appeared along its sides. Each bubble contained a tiny universe, complete with its own stars, planets, and laws of physics. "Is this normal?" Corinne asked. "Oh yes," the creature said. "My species are universe mothers. We make new universes and send them out into the big empty spaces to grow up. Your people are the first to help us in a very long time. Most races run away when they see us." This was the fourth domino. All of these changes were spreading out through space like ripples in a cosmic pond. Everywhere humans had been working, reality was becoming more flexible. The impossible was becoming merely difficult, and the difficult was becoming routine. This did not go unnoticed. The Weaver of Fate was one of the oldest beings in the universe. It had been alive since the first stars formed. Its job was to make sure everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. It controlled destiny, probability, and the future itself. The Weaver of Fate did not like what it was seeing. It appeared in space, near Jake Morrison's stellar engine, in a form that hurt to look at directly. The Weaver looked like a giant spider made of starlight and time, with eyes that could see every possible future. "Human," the Weaver said in a voice that echoed through dimensions. "You must stop what you are doing." Jake Morrison, who was painting racing stripes on his space shortcut to make it go faster, looked up. "Oh, hi there. Are you here to help or complain?" The Weaver of Fate had never been asked this question before. In its billions of years of existence, every being it met either worshipped it or fled in terror. No one had ever asked if it was there to help. "I am here to restore cosmic order," the Weaver said, trying to sound authoritative. "You are changing things that should not be changed." "Okay," Jake said cheerfully. "But if you're just going to complain, could you hold my beer instead? Lisa's getting tired of holding everyone's beer all the time." The Weaver of Fate looked at the brown bottle Jake was offering. In all its vast experience, no one had ever asked it to hold their beer. The request was so strange, so completely outside its understanding of how reality worked, that the Weaver actually considered it. "I do not drink beer," the Weaver said, confused. "You don't have to drink it," Jake explained patiently. "You just hold it while I work. It's like a tradition. Someone has to hold the beer while the impossible stuff happens." The Weaver of Fate found itself reaching for the bottle before it realized what it was doing. This was wrong. This was not how cosmic order worked. Immortal beings did not hold beer for humans who were casually rewriting the laws of physics. But somehow, Jake Morrison's simple request made it seem reasonable. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the effects of human activities were spreading faster than anyone expected. The galactic economy was collapsing because humans kept giving away free energy, free transportation, and free solutions to problems that entire civilizations had spent thousands of years trying to solve. The Zephyrian Trade Federation, which had controlled energy distribution for 10,000 years, filed for bankruptcy when Amy Rodriguez started giving away unlimited energy to anyone who asked nicely. The Stellar Taxi Service, which charged enormous fees to transport people between star systems, went out of business when Jake Morrison's space shortcuts made interstellar travel free and instantaneous. The Professional Problem-Solving Guild, which employed millions of the galaxy's smartest beings, disbanded when humans started solving impossible problems for fun during their lunch breaks. Dr. Helen Parker, a human xenobiologist, was studying the universe mother creature when she discovered something even more alarming. The baby universes the creature was creating were not following normal universe rules. Each of these new universes has different physics, Helen reported to Earth Command. In one of them, gravity pushes instead of pulls. In another, time runs backwards. There's one where mathematics is based on music instead of numbers. Is that bad? Asked Commander Steve Collins from Earth. I don't know, Helen said honestly, but the creature says she's going to release them into our space when they're ready. We're going to have 17 new universes with completely different rules of reality floating around our galaxy. That sounds awesome, Steve said. Think of all the new places we can explore. This was exactly the kind of attitude that was driving the immortal beings to panic. Humans were not worried about cosmic changes that should terrify any reasonable being. They were excited about them. The Weaver of Fate, still holding Jake Morrison's beer and feeling very confused about it, sent an emergency message to all immortal beings in the universe. The humans are not just breaking the rules, the message said. They are making the universe forget it ever had rules. They are teaching reality to be more flexible. This is spreading faster than we can contain it. The response from the immortal community was immediate and unanimous. Run away. But even as they prepared to flee, the immortals realized they might already be too late. The changes were spreading to every corner of space. Soon there would be nowhere left to hide from the humans and their impossible solutions. Jake Morrison finished painting his space shortcut and stood back to admire his work. The racing stripes made it look much faster, and indeed, travel time through the shortcut had improved by 30%. Thanks for holding my beer, he said to the Weaver of Fate. Want to see if this thing can connect to other dimensions too? The Weaver of Fate looked at the beer bottle still in its cosmic grasp and realized it had just become part of the problem. The news of the destroyed Zentari fleet spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In government buildings on 1,000 different worlds, alien leaders watched the battle, recording over and over, trying to understand how one human ship had destroyed 2,000 of their best vessels. Emperor Zeektar of the Zentari Empire sat on his golden throne, his forearms shaking with rage. The recording showed his finest fleet commander running away from a single human ship like a frightened child. How did the humans hide this technology from us? He demanded of his advisors. We have been watching them for 200 years. They build trading ships and diplomatic vessels, not warships. His chief military advisor, General Mordok, studied the battle data with growing fear. Your Majesty, the human ship moved in ways that our science says should be impossible. Their weapons went through our strongest shields like they were not even there. Emperor Zektar stood up from his throne. He was twice as tall as a human, with gray skin and glowing red eyes. Then we will build a bigger fleet, call every ally we have, gather every ship in our empire. We will crush these humans before they can threaten us again. Within days, the largest fleet in galactic history began gathering at Kepler Station, on the edge of Centauri space. Ships came from 12 different alien empires. Pirates, mercenaries, and military vessels all united by their fear of human power. By the end of the week, over 10,000 ships floated in space around the station. But on Earth, Admiral Parker was watching their every move through spy satellites and undercover agents. He smiled as he read the intelligence reports. They are doing exactly what we expected, he told President Santos during their secure communication. Fear is making them gather all their forces in one place. How many ships are we sending to meet them? The president asked. Less than 200. President. Santos was quiet for a moment. Ben, are you sure about this? 10,000 enemy ships against 200 of ours? Madam President, our ships are not like theirs. Each of our vessels is worth 50 of theirs. And we have other advantages they do not know about. Admiral Lucy Stone was chosen to command the Human Response Fleet. She was known throughout Earth's military as the smartest tactical commander they had ever trained. Her flagship, the U.S. Vengeance, was even larger than Captain Cross's ship. Admiral Stone, you understand your mission? Admiral Parker asked during their final briefing. Lucy looked at the star charts showing the massive alien fleet. Destroy or scatter the enemy force. Capture their leaders for war crimes trials. And make sure the galaxy understands that attacking humans was a mistake they will never forget. Exactly. And Lucy, the whole galaxy will be watching this battle. Make it count. The human fleet was unlike anything aliens had ever seen. The ships were black and silver, covered with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Most frightening. Of all, half the ships had no crews at all. They were controlled by artificial intelligence computers that could think faster than any living being. Commander Joe Martinez was the captain of one of the AI-controlled ships, the U.S. Thunder. But he was not on the ship during the battle. Instead, he controlled it from a safe command center on Earth, connected by quantum communication that worked instantly across any distance. This is strange, Joe said to his fellow remote commanders. I can control my ship from 30 light years away, and it responds faster than if I was actually on the bridge. His colleague, Captain Sue Adams, nodded from her own control station. The AI systems are incredible. My ship knows what I want it to do before I even give the order. At Kepler Station, the alien fleet commanders were feeling confident. Emperor Zegtar himself had come to watch the battle that would destroy the human threat forever. 10,000 ships against less than 200, he said to his gathered allies. Even if the humans have better technology, they cannot possibly win. Against such odds, the Kellyan Republic had also sent ships to the battle, even though they had been enemies of the Centauri just days before. Fear of human power had made old enemies into new allies. Remember, announced Fleet Commander Veltar of the Kellyans, we must capture some human ships intact. We need to learn how their technology works. They were about to learn that human technology was far beyond anything they could understand. The human fleet arrived at Kepler Station exactly on schedule. Admiral Stone looked at her tactical display, showing thousands of enemy contacts surrounding her small force. Well, she said to her bridge crew, we are definitely outnumbered. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Carl White, smiled as he checked his systems. Good thing we brought better ships, Admiral. All ships. This is Admiral Stone. Begin battle formation Alpha. Let's show them what 200 years of secret preparation can accomplish. The human ships spread out in a pattern that looked random to the aliens watching. But each ship was positioned perfectly to support the others using tactics that had been developed in secret military academies hidden across the solar system. Emperor Zegtar opened communications to the human fleet. Surrender now, humans. You are outnumbered 50-1. We will show mercy if you give up without fighting. Admiral Stone's reply was broadcast to every ship in both fleets and to every government in the galaxy. Emperor Zegtar, you killed our diplomats. You chose war over peace. Now you will learn why humanity spent 2 centuries perfecting the art of war while pretending to perfect the art of peace. The Battle of Kepler Station began with the aliens, confident they would win through sheer numbers. Their first attack was like a wall of energy weapons and missiles filling space between the two fleets, but the human ships seemed to dance between the incoming fire. They moved in ways that alien science said were impossible, twisting through space as if the laws of physics did not apply to them. Not a single human ship was hit in the opening attack. Then the humans fired back. The alien fleet discovered that human weapons were like nothing they had ever faced. Energy beams that could bend around obstacles to hit targets hiding behind cover. Missiles that hunted enemy ships like living predators. Most terrifying of all, weapons that could reach through space itself to strike targets from impossible directions. In the first 5 minutes of battle, 300 alien ships were destroyed. The survivors began to panic as they realized their weapons could barely damage the human vessels, while every human shot found its target. Impossible. Emperor Zektar screamed from his command ship. How are they doing this? His answer came from Admiral Stone herself, broadcasting on all frequencies. We are the species that conquered our entire home planet before we learned to leave it. We have been studying war longer than your civilizations have existed. Today you learn the difference between choosing peace and being unable to fight. The human AI-controlled ships were the most devastating. They worked together like parts of a single giant mind, coordinating their attacks with perfect timing. When one ship fired at an enemy, 3 others would be ready to finish off any survivors. Commander Joe Martinez watched through his ship's sensors as the AI systems identified and destroyed targets faster than any living pilot could react. It's like watching a perfect dance, he said to his fellow remote commanders. Every move planned, every shot calculated. The alien fleet began to break apart as panic spread through their ranks. Ships that had been confident of victory just minutes before were now running for their lives. But the human vessels were faster, and their weapons had longer range than anything the aliens possessed. Emperor Zektar's flagship was surrounded by the burning remains of his mighty fleet. Through his window, he could see human ships moving through the debris like sharks hunting wounded prey. All ships retreat, he finally ordered, but most of his fleet was already gone. Admiral Stone opened communications one final time. Attention, all surviving vessels. You are hereby ordered to surrender for trial on charges of war crimes against humanity. Any ship that attempts to flee will be destroyed. The Battle of Kepler Station lasted 43 minutes. When it ended, the largest fleet in galactic history had been reduced to burning wreckage floating in space. Of the 10,000 alien ships that had gathered to destroy humanity, fewer than 500 survived to surrender. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. Across the galaxy, alien governments watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. Military leaders who had planned to challenge human power quietly canceled their preparations for war. The message was clear. Humanity had become the dominant force in the galaxy, and challenging them meant destruction. On Earth, Admiral Parker received Admiral Stone's victory report with satisfaction. Phase 3 begins tomorrow, he announced to his staff. It's time to establish the new galactic order. The age of endless wars between alien empires was ending. The age of human enforced peace was about to begin. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler Station, the galaxy was a very different place. The endless wars that had burned through space for generations had stopped. Not because anyone had made peace, but because everyone was afraid to fight with. Human ships watching from the shadows. General Frank Miller stood on the bridge of the U.E.S. Peacekeeper, looking down at the planet Centauri Prime through the large windows. The planet's cities glowed like jewels in the darkness, but there were dark patches where war had destroyed entire regions before humans arrived to stop the fighting. "General, the food supplies have been delivered to the refugee camps," reported Colonel Jane Roberts. She was in charge of humanitarian operations on the planet. "The people are starting to trust us." Frank nodded. This was the hardest part of establishing peace, making sure that ordinary people did not suffer while their leaders learned new ways to behave. "What about the war criminals?" "War Commander Vexthai and his officers are ready for trial. The evidence against them is overwhelming." The trial of Vexthai had been broadcast across the galaxy. Every civilization watched as the alien who had ordered the murder of human diplomats stood before a human judge. The evidence was clear. He had planned the attacks to prevent peace talks and increase his own power. The judge, a calm human woman named Margaret Clark, had pronounced the sentence that shocked the galaxy. "War Commander Vexthai, you are guilty of crimes against peace and the murder of diplomatic personnel. You are sentenced to life in prison. You will spend the rest of your days thinking about the thousands of people who died because of your greed for power." Many aliens had expected humans to execute Vexthai. The fact that they chose imprisonment instead sent a different message. Humans were not cruel conquerors, but they would not tolerate attacks on innocent people. Ambassador Claire Thompson was now Earth's representative to the new Galactic Peace Council. She stood before delegates from every major civilization, delivering a message that would define the galaxy's future. "Representatives of the galaxy," she began, "Earth offers you the same choice we have always offered. Peace through cooperation, or peace through submission. Choose wisely." The Kellian delegate, a tall blue-skinned alien named Senator Corval, raised his hand. "Ambassador Thompson, what guarantees do we have that Earth will not use its military power to conquer our worlds?" Claire smiled. It was a fair question, and one that every alien government was asking. "Senator, Earth has had the power to conquer your worlds for over 50 years. We chose not to because we believe free people make better neighbors than slaves. That has not changed. But you destroyed entire fleets," protested the delegate from the Andraxian Confederation. "How do we know you will not destroy us if we disagree with you?" "Because," Claire replied patiently, "we only destroy those who choose violence over diplomacy. If you disagree with us, we will talk. If you attack our people, we will respond. The difference should be obvious." Commander Steve Jordan was implementing the new human military doctrine across the galaxy. His ships patrolled the major trade routes, not hiding their capabilities, but not looking for fights either. They were visible reminders that someone was watching, someone who could stop any war before it started. "Commander, we are receiving a distress call from the Harmony sector," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Bob Taylor. "A pirate fleet is attacking merchant ships." Steve looked at his tactical display. The pirates had 12 ships attacking a convoy of civilian traders. "Launch interceptor squadrons. Let's remind these pirates why crime does not pay anymore." The human response was swift and precise. The pirate ships found themselves surrounded by vessels that could outfight anything they had ever seen. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes and ended with the pirates surrendering rather than being destroyed. This became the new pattern across the galaxy. Criminal groups that had operated freely for decades suddenly found themselves facing opponents they could not defeat. Pirates, slavers, and raiders either changed their ways or disappeared entirely. On Earth, Admiral Parker was reviewing reports from across human space. Crime was down 90%. Wars between alien governments had stopped completely. Trade was increasing as merchants no longer feared attack while traveling between worlds. "It worked," he said to President Santos during their weekly meeting. "The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in 1,000 years. What about resistance to our presence?" the president asked. Some grumbling, but no organized opposition. Most governments are grateful that we stopped the fighting. Even former enemies are working together, now that they know someone stronger is watching. The most dramatic change was on the border between Centauri and Kellyan space. For 3 years, these two empires had fought a devastating war. Now their ships patrolled together, hunting down the war criminals who had profited from the fighting. Captain Amy Morrison commanded the human memorial ship, U.E.'s Remembrance. She was the sister of Captain Jake Morrison, who had died when the U.E. Sci. Harmony was destroyed. Today, she was returning to the place where her brother and ambassador, Grant, had been murdered. The memorial station had been built at the exact location where the diplomatic ship was destroyed. It was a beautiful structure made of white metal and crystal, designed to honor all the diplomats who had died trying to make peace. Amy stood before the memorial wall, reading the names of the 3,000 humans who had been killed in the alley. Coordinated attacks. Her brother's name was carved in letters of gold at the top of the list. They thought killing our messengers would silence our message of peace, she said to the gathered crowd of humans and aliens who had come to the dedication ceremony. Instead, they learned that some messages are written in fire and steel. Let this be the last lesson any civilization needs. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Every world received the same message. Earth remembered its dead, but it also forgave its enemies who chose to change their ways. Dr. Helen Wright, Earth's leading expert on alien cultures, addressed the Galactic Confederation Council one final time. Her words would be remembered for generations. For 2 centuries, you knew us as merchants and diplomats. You forgot that we are also the species that conquered our entire homeworld before we learned to leave it. We chose peace. You chose war. Now face the consequences. But, she continued, consequences do not have to mean destruction. They can mean learning. They can mean growing. They can mean building a better galaxy together. The new galactic order was unlike anything that had existed before. Instead of dozens of empires fighting endless wars, there was one dominant power that enforced peace through strength. Humans did not rule other species, but they made sure that no species could attack another without facing overwhelming retaliation. Trade flourished as merchants no longer needed to fear pirates or border wars. Scientific cooperation increased as civilizations that had been enemies began sharing knowledge. Even former military officers found new jobs building schools and hospitals instead of weapons and warships. On Earth, children learned about the galaxy as a place of peace and cooperation. They were taught that their ancestors had been forced to fight a terrible war, but that war had led to a better future for everyone. Admiral Parker, now an old man, stood in the same underground command center where he had activated Protocol 7. The room was quieter now, monitoring peace instead of preparing for war. "Admiral," asked a young officer, "do you think we will ever have to use our full military power again?" Parker looked at the displays showing human ships peacefully patrolling trade routes across the galaxy. "I hope not, son. But if we do, the galaxy will remember why it is better to talk than to fight." The story ended where it began, with a human ship carrying diplomats to prevent a war. But this time, no one would dare attack the messengers of peace. The galaxy had learned that Earth's patience had limits, and crossing those limits carried consequences beyond imagination. In the years that followed, historians would mark the murder of Ambassador Grant and Captain Morrison as the moment when the galaxy changed forever. It was the day that Sleeping Giant woke up, looked around, and decided it was time to take charge. The age of endless wars was over. The age of human-enforced peace had begun. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the memorial to the murdered diplomats served as a reminder that the price of peace was sometimes paid in fire and steel. But the result was worth the cost. The galaxy was finally at peace, not because everyone wanted it, but because everyone feared the alternative. And sometimes that was enough.